So if you've been following the renovation series of videos, you'll have seen last time we finished that big 1930s renovation. We created essentially our dream house where I had my drum room and everything. And then, as per usual, we packed up and left. And a lot of you have been wondering why we did that. In today's video, I'm going to try and explain. Hi folks, welcome back. I hope you are very, very well. I wanted to apologise a little bit for the lack of content recently as well. We are still in kind of house move limbo. We've completed phase 1 of moving out of our new build, and we are currently in a rental, and we're currently waiting to buy our next renovation project, which you will find out all about on here. So please do click subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we've been in limbo for really over a year now, so it's starting to wear a little bit thin, trust me on that one. My workshop is literally packed up in a storage container at the moment, and yeah, it'll all come back, watch this space. But I've got plenty of stuff to keep you updated on in the meantime. And I'm kind of, as part of this video series about past renovations, I'm gradually bringing you up to date so you can kind of get a bit of history of where we came from, where we got to, why we moved so many times, etc, etc. One thing I did want to get across with all of these renovations as well is just kind of giving you an understanding of what's involved in projects like this, because houses don't renovate themselves. You're talking about a lot of work, a lot of expense, a lot of eating food off a camping stove. It's all worth it in the end, but I would say every renovation that we've done to date has taken 2 to 3 years, so don't underestimate the sort of work that's involved in this. But as I say, it is worth it when it's all done. So as you've probably guessed, we've moved a lot over the years, and I haven't even shown you all of the projects that we've done, including when I lived in a council block of flats and I converted my airing cupboard into a vocal booth. There was also another house where I built a vocal booth in a bedroom before I was married, may I add. And if you've been watching along, you'll have seen 3 of our favourite renovations that we did. The Tyneside terraced flat, where we literally had a 6-foot drop to the right hand side of the toilet. The 1920s semi-detached house where the concrete floor had basically broken and had to be replaced. And of course the big 1930s renovation that you saw last time. By the way, I did get a couple of comments on the 1920s, a smaller semi that we renovated, saying that's not a 1920s house, that's a 1950s house or something. It's like, believe it or not, we did own the house. We did see the deeds, so I can assure you it was built in late 1920s. So anyway, the 1930s renovation, and that was a big, expensive renovation. If you want to know what the costs of all these renovations were, by the way, head over onto the Gosforth Handyman member zone, and I'll go into all of the costs in quite a lot of detail over there. So just head to members.gosforthhandyman.com and you can join on there. And join in with everyone who's supporting the channel directly. Thank you, everyone. You're amazing. So yeah, that last 1930s renovation, beautiful house. I finally had my dream of having a drum room in the house where I could make as much noise as I wanted. We had beautiful gardens. It had like great big bedrooms, and it was just gorgeous. So why on earth did we move? Why on earth did we move? You see, the problem with a house like that, sadly, is that they're an absolute black hole for money. Not just in terms of the renovation costs, but just the running costs as well. Council tax alone was over £3,000 a year. Utility bills were massive, and don't even talk about the giant mortgage. Now, just to rewind a little bit, I've been self-employed in one way or another for most of my life. I'm not very good with authority, complete control freak, etc, etc. But at that particular time, when we were doing the 1930s renovation, I was in a corporate job and very much tied into it as well. That's another very long story for another time, but I qualified as a recording studio engineer, fell into a job in IT, and suddenly 17 years had gone past. Anyway, the problem with a house like this is that it ties you into corporate life. You've got bills that really only a corporate wage can pay for. I don't particularly advise owning a house as big as that if you are planning on setting up your own business. So also bear in mind, obviously, we had a very young family at the time, And through the corporate job, I was spending a lot of time away from home, staying in hotels, travelling all around the country, and that's not really the kind of childhood I wanted my kids to have. So bottom line is, we had a decision to make, and either we stay in the big house and I stay in the corporate job and I miss out on seeing my family grow up, or we sell up, buy a cheaper house, and I go back to full-time self-employment. So yes, we do have to sacrifice a lot of the material things, but hopefully quality of life will make up for that, and it most certainly has done. The other thing to bear in mind as well is that we had been doing renovations for well over 10 years by this point, and we just wanted a bit of a break. So as per usual, we didn't really have much of a plan. We put the house on the market. We moved into a rental property, which happened to be a new build. We'd never lived in a new build before, other than in between one of the house moves where we temporarily moved in with my wife's parents. And then they moved house while we were living with them. That was pre-kids, by the way. So yeah, we're living in this new build rental property, and we thought, yeah, this is pretty good. This could work out. One of the things that was really clear from square one was, wow, you switch the central heating on, the whole house is warm, like, immediately. Unlike in the great big 1930s house, that would take days to warm up. And we thought, yeah, while the kids are young, this could really work out. So we looked at a new housing development, and we literally bought a house off plan, brand new, waited for it to be built, moved into it, and it was honestly the best decision we ever made. Just to put things into perspective, because I do often get comments on this channel saying, oh, new builds are a rip-off and blah blah blah. This new build, which was bigger than the 1930s house, was less than half the price. And if it wasn't for that move, I would never have set up the handyman business, I would never have had a workshop, and therefore this YouTube channel just wouldn't have existed. And yeah, I had to go from corporate life and working in an office or great big data centers through to fixing people's skirting boards and unblocking drains. And all of that for pretty much minimum wage, but quality of life went through the roof. We got by and it was fine. And above all, I got to see my kids grow up, and my kids are like a tween and a teenager now. And we haven't really got long left before our eldest leaves home or goes off on his studies or whatever he does. And you know, as the kids get older, if you have young kids, trust me, time starts to speed up very, very quickly as your kids get older. And life now is really about making the most of every single day that we've got with them. Anyway, that neatly brings us up to a video series that I started 3 years ago about how new builds are made. So we've got a whole range of properties here, ranging from ground floor level right up to second floor level. So what you can see here in these houses, you can see the outer leaf of brick and the inner leaf of block with the cavity in between. So I've just come round the side of this one, and you can see formers in for that window there on the right hand side. I've got nothing in for the door, so you can really see the cavity of the door there. Just over on this side you can see all the block work ready to be installed, but this is just a site compound for this particular part of the development. This is a brand new section, which I think this is going to have another 800 houses in, off the top of my head. So another huge section of the estate here. And I'm going to continue that series next week, and I'm going to show you around the new build that we ended up buying. I'm going to show you basically how all the internals of a new build work. So if you're ever thinking of buying a new build house, you can kind of get a gauge of how they're put together. We loved living in a new build, and it opened up opportunities that just wouldn't have existed if we'd stayed in the really big expensive house. And the kids loved it, and they could play outside with their mates and all that sort of thing. So it was great, but it was then time to move on again. But we're not quite up to that stage yet. So next time, I'm going to give you a tour of the new build. We're going to talk a little bit more, continue that series on how new build houses are made, and then we'll get on to the next chapter after that. And then you'll pretty much be up to date after that. Anyway, folks, I hope all of that makes sense. If you've got any questions, please pop it in the comments below. Don't forget you can directly support the channel now as well via the Gosforth Handyman members zone. Just visit members.gosforthhandyman.com. There's loads of extra content on there, including how I used to price up my jobs, how much it costs to do all the renovations. There's the SketchUp tutorial videos are on there. There's more and more kind of niche content on the members zone that doesn't really fit with the whole YouTube model. Don't worry if you don't want to go down that route, there's still plenty of stuff coming out on the public channel. So watch this space. Do hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Take care, folks. I shall see you next time. Tatty bye. Lordy, that's going to be a challenge.